Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. How's everybody doing?
Good.
I thought this was a Reloading podcast on Firearms Radio Network.
It is.
Sorry.
What did I not say? Hello, Bueller.
I don't think you said Reloading podcast.
Oh,
Yeah, you haven't said this is a Reloading podcast on Firearms Radio Network.
well, that's why I was asking. Hey, Chris, or Jason, or Mike, take two. Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here on the Firearms Radio Network, presented by Primary Arms. Okay, there we go. Anyway. Somebody's mic's picking up a lot of noise.
Not me.
Oh, this guy's going to get a star just for being a knucklehead.
What was that? What was that you was about to say at first?
I said this guy's going to get a star just for being a knucklehead.
No, that's not what I heard at first.
Anyway.
Yeah, well. I can't help what you didn't hear, Sharonda.
Mm-hmm.
Pot star, you.
Oh, crikey. So how's everybody doing? And
We're doing good.
Doing good.
Doing good. Good.
Actually, I'm not
Sharonda.
doing so good
why not?
because I signed up for T-Mobile Internet at Home.
Yep.
Unlimited, and it's
Yep.
about 1/3 the speed my previous ISP was.
That sucks.
So T-Mobile will be getting the router back. Shame.
Hey,
but anyway, I'm all right.
Well, that sucks. Hey, Nick.
Yeah.
Manicore Arms has got some Swedish M90 camo slings and chest rigs.
Gosh dang it. Make me spend more money. Gosh,
I
dang
love spending other people's money.
it. Did Manicore Arms?
Yep.
Take a look.
Hunt Shooter Off-Road's got a question. One quick question. Resizing 30-06 to 35 Wayland, do you lube the inside of the neck, and how?
No.
Oh my God, yes, you do.
No, you don't. I use you use an expander mandrel to get it to 35.
Yeah, because we were stretching the hell out of the case.
Yeah, but you don't need to lube it. Not with a good mandrel.
Depends on how you're sizing it. So.
Well,
If you're sizing with ordinary reloading dies, I would think you'd want to anneal the neck and lubricate it after.
Well, annealing goes without saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But if I'm using just a mandrel to start with, I would just use a mandrel. I don't need to lube it. It would just open it up nice.
So.
Good question, Rob.
I guess it all depends on, like I said, it all depends on what way you're doing it. So.
Well, okay.
If you're just using the resizing die.
Thank you, Mike. Go ahead.
Then lube it.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, and they make brushes specifically for that purpose. Otherwise, you can use my favorite, One Shot, because when you spray it, you get the inside of the neck, but you got to let it dry. So, otherwise, yeah. I mean, worst case scenario, I suppose, if you had, excuse me, depending on what type of lube you were using, you could jam it in the lube. If you're using, I mean, I wouldn't want to do that with my Imperial sizing wax, but so.
Well, you got it, in Imperial case neck lube. You're going to go that way.
Right. But yeah, then you need something to put it on the inside of it. So,
Well, no, it's got little balls. So when you go into it,
oh yeah, that's right. That's yeah,
it's a kind of like a graphite.
yeah. I forgot. I forgot
yeah.
that. So
So if you're looking to lube it, that's the way to do it. That way it's dry on the inside. There's another product out there that would work to lubricate the inside of the case necks. It's sold at Bruno's, and is an inside uh, um, inside the case lube.
I thought
And
we didn't talk about Bruno.
and
Anyway,
he it's made for turning case necks. So anyway, there you go.
yeah. Okay, Shrenda.
Yes, sir.
What's all this stuff you've been throwing up on the social media stuff there? What you been doing?
I had women's pheasant camp this past weekend, and it was 100% all women mentored with dogs and everything, and it was a great weekend. I only have one complaint, and it wasn't with any of the attendees. It's with the husband that packed his woman's bag to go pheasant hunting, who is not a pheasant hunter, but it was great. And not all of the women harvested, which is okay. I mean, it happens.
Right.
It was on a gaming farm, so they were planted, and everybody got to clean something. Some new hunt friendships were formed. We actually have some pocket groups of women getting together in their areas that met up. So I had a really, 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 really great time as someone that helped organize and mentored and took pictures. I'm exhausted because it's a lot of driving for me, a lot of walking, and a lot of dog snuggles. Oh, what else I got coming up? I am working on a few things, and I have a few things to share with you guys offline. I'm a little excited about, but I'm planning a couple of events here. One of them I'm going to do is have a stargazing event with some decent telescopes at the observatory. And I
That'll
think
be
I'm going to
fun.
open it up for families and camp because I found out that you can camp on the grounds too. So that's all I can think of right now. I'm looking around to see if anything's going to jog my memory. Y'all notice I don't even have a cup of coffee in my hand. So no coffee means I can't think. That doesn't work. It has to be. I had a foul joke. It has to be hot and black.
Well, everybody has their own preference.
I've seen you drink the cold stuff.
Yeah. I will drink the cold stuff in a pinch. Or, sometimes you gotta switch it up a little bit. I'm also accessorizing the creek more here. It's getting warm, so I'm getting antsy.
Tomorrow morning, I have to come out with the ice and
I'm trying to think. I don't think I have anything else really going on other than I'm cleaning my reloading room up a little bit so I can get some action going in it. And I won't have anything new to share until next week.
All right.
Because I don't want to jinx it.
Okay.
Oh, and I'm getting another safe tonight. It was time. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Is that the
bring home a safe.
same 3-cent discount that Cabela's is offering?
No, this was an emergency. I got to move out of town. Here's the key to my storage.
Oh,
You can have it. If there's anything
nice.
in it, I want it. I'm like, well, let's talk about what it is first. So, yeah, it was a deal. I just couldn't let go because I was the one that organized the safe originally, so I know what it's worth. And It'd be perfect for what I need it for.
Nice. Nice.
Awesome. Excuse me. So, for those of you on Discord, the Mesquite has been posted.
Huh?
Rob's rifle that we named
The mesquite.
is Tika that we named that one night for hog hunting. And so he's got pictures of it that he posted on Discord under rifle questions. It is a nice looking rifle.
Yeah. Fluted barrel.
Yep. And he has the mesquite engraved on it.
Yeah.
So
SWA Swan 35 Wayland. Wow.
No, Jorgen, you're wrong. Jorgen said, I could have swore it was the Outback Hog Humper, but I was drinking cheap rye that night. So. But
Rye whiskey, till I cry.
so while Sharonda was chatting, Andy 79Z28 said mineral oil on a Q-tip is a way to lube up the neck for resizing. So, but yeah, definitely annealing is required on that, so you don't split the case. But all right, Nick and Ray, you been up to anything?
Just traveling. Bought a new gun, and
What'd you get?
You can show the bolts out.
can we show it with the
The
bolt
bolts
out?
out? Yeah, you're good. That's how it was with me last week.
Bought a 1943
44.
40. I'm sorry, you're right. 44 K98.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all numbers matching except the stock. For some reason, whoever had it before me had to replace the stock. It is not a Russian capture. It's got a original sling.
Nice.
Got some
and-
nice wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It turned out real
Yeah,
nice.
they finished.
It's been sanded a little bit,
Yeah,
but you can still see the cartouches and everything on the stock.
Yeah,
But other than that, every other part we believe is
all,
correct.
all the metal is correct.
Yep,
It's
all the
got
metal's
numbers
correct.
on it.
And we did get he did get a correct
Ooh.
Stabby,
K98
stabby.
stabby to go with it. So
Nice.
but,
Yeah. Got a really good deal.
yeah, really good for the combo. Yeah, really good deal.
Yeah.
So, but
Yep.
and then as far as me, I had some big news come up late last week, and everybody down here knows I accepted a new job in the Kansas City area. So I will be moving. Exactly. I will be moving. here in
He's
a couple
moving to
weeks.
freedom.
Exactly.
You
Moving
moving
to
in with
freedom.
Sharenda?
No.
Oh.
No.
I mean, I could squeeze him in this little corner right here with all his reload and stuff.
You don't.
Yeah,
no,
but
you
you be
wouldn't.
always pinching his stash, poor
Exactly.
poor guy.
That ain't happening.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would, and I'd do it with a grin on my face.
But yeah, it's gonna be nice. It's a big change, big upgrade in career. So I'm really looking forward to it. So
Good. Just the divorce is going to hurt. That's all.
yeah.
I'm about 6 months. I'll be 6 months behind him.
See, if you notice here in a couple of weeks, a different background for me, I'll be in a different location. So,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody come to my house because a dog will eat you.
Nick,
Yeah,
let me
dog-
be
dog
the
dog
next
house.
person to congratulate you again.
Thank you.
Actually, I'll be getting a raise because he won't be borrowing money from you. So,
Yeah, I'm going to be making a pretty good chunk of change,
you'll be buying me guns.
and that's because I owe him a lot of money. So it's my gun
Dad,
buying will be going to Dad, but then those guns will eventually go to me. So I don't really don't worry about it.
Dad, he's still going to be pinching off you because he's going to be buying more guns.
Future
You know,
investment.
it's just the gun safes and stuff are going to expand, and he's going to be broke.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna have I'll be able to live a lot
Oh,
more
yeah,
comfortable because the way my pay scale will be is it's going to be a lot different than I'm normally used to. So I'll be able to split my money up better and pay my bills better and kind of put some stuff away. And
Yep.
so
The lies we tell ourselves.
no, I seriously will. It will be a lot better. So
He's getting a big enough salary increase. It's definitely going to be a lifestyle change for him. So
You know what that means? Buy more meal serve stuff.
well,
he got to find an apartment or a house first.
that's the
so,
big thing. Yeah, I got to find something. So I got to get the house sold here. That's the other big thing.
your house here, so no
Oh
problem.
yeah, no. Hopefully more than what I want. But
You haven't been in long enough really to get a lot out of it.
Yeah,
but,
that's
I know.
you
But
know, and interest rates are going up. So as soon as you get to Kansas, buy a house.
Joe, I'm gonna be very entertained to hear the shit show of buying a house here in Kansas and Missouri once you get up here.
we'll see. Well, the company, nice thing about the company has a realtor they work with that kind of helps you look. So that'll be the nice thing.
Yeah.
they pay for moving.
Yeah, they're
and-
paying for all my moving. I'm getting a signing bonus, all sorts of training they pay for every year. It's a very large company I'll be working for. One of the biggest engineering firms in the country. So
Nice.
Paul, you've probably heard of them. Kiewit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I'll be working for Kiewit. So I'll be doing working in their power division. So I'll be working on like solar fields, wind turbines, nuclear facilities, coal retrofits. So it's a big increase going from just looking at a roadway to going looking at coal retrofits or even nuclear facilities.
Got to learn some new stuff. Though.
Absolutely.
You gotta
So
learn-
Nice.
Yeah. Wait till you get on that welding stuff and everything else and piping and everything and
yeah.
that's interesting.
Well, I look at it as far as okay, yeah, it's gonna be a whole new learning experience, but it has standards. Everything has standards. You follow
Engineering is all standards. You got
exactly. I'll have as long as I have a book, the Bible of standards for that specific area. I can learn it pretty quickly.
ASTM is a
Mhm.
book that you're going to follow, and that's it. I mean, if it roads, they go by their own, okay,
Mhm.
and then they work their own stuff into it. But where you're dealing with this is going to be a lot of federal government stuff. It's all that and more, and it's all ASTM, and you'll be working with that, and you gotta go by the book as far as what you have to do, and most of it's going to be handed to you because the engineer is going to sit there and say this is what we're looking at,
Yeah.
and you got to be able to interpret.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's going to be nice. And the biggest thing is going to be, especially like if I do go into a gun store, once I claim residency over there, be able to buy, cash and carry as long as background check comes back approved. That's going to be the oddest thing.
And especially when you get your concealed carry license,
Mm-hmm.
it's even better because a lot of them don't even bother with the
background,
background check.
Well, that's only in Kansas. So if you buy something in Missouri, you're gonna need
they're
gonna send a background check.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I have my CNR for, because that'll help me with a lot of things.
Yeah, but it'll depend on which side of the river you're on.
That's true.
In Missouri, constitutional carry?
Yes.
I thought both were.
What about Kansas?
I thought both were.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll look into that.
They are.
It's
Kansas
free no
is
matter
nice
what.
because they have signs up that says no open carry. That doesn't mean you can't carry. It just means they don't want it visible.
Coming from me, I will never open carry. You feel like you have a target on your back the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel comfortable with it out open on my hip, even at the gun range a lot of times. It just, with some of the people, like you get the weird looks and it's just, I won't do it.
I think in the open carry, you're the first target.
Exactly. Yeah.
You'd be surprised how many, at least in Indiana, how many people open carry. Okay. And you go into a restaurant and you may find 10 or 15 people that are open carrying and okay, you're going to take them all out? No.
Nope.
But
But besides, they got guys that open that conceal carry that can shoot at 40 yards in Indiana, and hit somebody.
Mhm. Now I get to go bug Sharinda at work. So
If I'm there.
that's true. I'll find out the days you work. You know that.
I'll happily tell you.
I've even thought about, hey, can I get on the same schedule as Sharinda, working 1 day, 2 days a month?
They might.
I thought
There
you
you
said
go.
you were giving up a second.
I am giving up a second job. I'm gonna love the free time.
That's not. I
Ugh.
don't really consider that work though. It's like just hanging out in, like the gun
Right.
store all day. Is that really work?
No. Nope, it's not.
Just locate the longest ranges that you can come up with, and
I did find a 600-yard range, so and
there you go.
I'm definitely gonna try to get in that. So
Where to
What name?
shoot.org.
What's the name?
that's Mill Creek.
You take out a waiting list.
Okay.
Gun Club doesn't have a
Yeah,
waiting
that's
list.
it. But that's why you're not giving up your one here.
No, I still have. I'm gonna stay a member here. One of my gun clubs. I'm a member of here, so in case I'm coming
Plus,
back here and
you have to shoot with someone there like 1 or 2 times for them to be a reference. And so now that it's getting warmer, I was going to have one of the guys take me out. So I'll see if we can just do like a group thing. So
let me know. Yeah,
they can
I'll be over
vouch
there.
for
And,
it.
I'll be over there in 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll bring some toys.
Yep. I will let them know to get ready because I need my referral too.
Mm-hmm.
Just get on the list, and if you have to, and that's the way it is. I mean, find a hunt club too.
There's a lot in there, and there's also always state ranges. So
Yeah.
if I need to go shoot something to test a load, there's a state range I could go to. I think it's just north of Kansas City, about 20 minutes.
There's an app out there that's perfect for you right now, Nick. It's from the National Shooting Sports Foundation. It's called Where to Shoot.
I have used that before when I've been traveling with stuff just to see what's out there, and
Oh, there you
I'll
go.
definitely have to take a look at it again. So,
You now know a Bob and you now know a Dusty.
yep, a Bob and a Dusty. Yep.
A Bob and a Dusty.
How more redneck can we get?
Oh my goodness! And those
It's
two
not
will
Billy
have
Bob,
you in
so.
trouble.
But yeah, Sharinda's already got me some hookups as far as because I've been trying to figure out, okay, where's the best places? Because I know Kansas City relatively decent, not great, but I know like your Cabela's, I know your smaller shops like the one Sharinda works at, and some of your other ones. But I really don't know those little hole in the wall places. So I've had to start to make some connections. So
If you want some food, go down by 18th and Vine.
well, yeah, but I come to find out my boss's boss runs a barbecue team who competes at American Royal. So
There you go.
we'll see. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
If they invite you to go, go.
Oh, I'm going to American Royal. I ain't stupid.
Yeah.
It's American Royal. For anybody that's never heard of American Royal, it is probably one of the, if not the biggest barbecue competitions in North America.
Mm-hmm. They come from
Besides-
all over.
Besides
bigger than
Memphis,
Memphis and May?
No, it's smaller than Memphis and May, but I would say Memphis and May's top. This is probably a close second.
Now my mouth's watering. It's not even nice.
He
Here I am.
can't
Here I am. Limited to sticks and twigs and fruit and nuts, and you're talking about barbecue.
Hey, I cook as much as I can. Like we made white chicken chili over the weekend. I did brisket
cook a week ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'll get off food. I'm getting hungry again. Gosh dang it.
Somebody else's turn.
Jim, what you been up to?
You gotta unmute.
I thought I did. No, I accidentally saved this screen as a bookmark. No, I haven't done much of anything since last week. Weather's warming up. I'm thinking about cleaning out the garage. Makes me get back to my reloading bench.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, about necking up and necking down, I've done both. I've necked up from 270 to 308. Or I'm sorry, 30-06. I've also necked 30-06 down to 270. Then one time I got just feeling ornery. Had a bunch of scrap to 30-06 brass. Lo and behold, that stuff turned into 308 brass real well.
Nice.
Just run the neck down, trim it off. It can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you hear that, Rob. Way down under.
Nice. So I picked up a wall hanger. Nice old fashioned double hammer 12 gauge Damascus barrels.
Ooh, be careful with them.
That's why it's a wall hanger, Jim.
Ah, okay.
So I don't know if I'll be able to see, if you'll be able to see it or not, but
Well, turn some light on, Mike.
Really?
Higher.
so if you look, you can see.
Yeah, I can see it on your left hand side there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this thing's really pitted bad, but if you can kind of see right along there how it's got the vertical lines that go
Yep.
in it.
The spirals. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, this is Damascus barrels, but with how bad it is, I'm just gonna send it off to Chris, have him powder, or I have him Cerakote the barrels, and then I'm gonna clean up this and the stock, which stock's in overall pretty good condition, except for what usually happens to these, which is crack at the wrist. So, but yeah, this is just gonna get cleaned up, get the barrels put back on, and then it's gonna get put on the wall. So.
Yeah. What normally happens with there is people stand over and under up with the barrels pointed up, and oil just rolls down into the stock and loosens everything up and allows it to split.
Mm-hmm.
Over and under should always be stored with the muzzles down. So, what we got today? We're gonna be priming cases.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
So we talked about cleaning your brass prep last week. Now we've got it all cleaned out. Now we got to prime it.
Did we clean out the primer pockets last week?
Yeah, we talked about that as part of the cleaning of the brass.
Okay, then I won't get into it.
So, but if you want to give a refresher, Jim, go ahead.
Well, if you're going to hand load brass, you want to clean your primer pockets just for the sake of consistency.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my thought. There's several different styles of cleaning tools out there. The one I like best was the RCBS end brush. But that's because when you put that in something like put it in a cordless drill or something like that, it's not going to take any metal to speak of out of the primer pocket. Whereas if the flat scraping tools like a screwdriver, it could, if you really got aggressive with it, it could conceivably deepen our primer pocket a little bit.
No, I'll clean my primer pockets out with a primer pocket cutter. So
yeah, that's the same thing.
Yeah,
but once you do that, though, you're not going to deepen your. Once you bottom out with that tool, you're not going to deepen your primer pockets no matter what you do.
Yeah, but it will take some metal off every once in a while, but that's because the primer pocket has been set back some. So
yep.
It happens, and it keeps my primer pockets flat, which I like.
Mm-hmm.
There is a curve there. If you look into it, there's a lot of curve to a lot of them. So
yep. I want to see you use that primer pocket deepener, square and tool, whatever you want to call it. Let's see you use that on Berdan brass.
Doesn't matter to me. It cuts the brass. It's just Berdan priming tool is one. It's going to be a different size.
You
It is
bet.
not. It is not a, small rifle, large rifle like ours. So like we do with boxer prime, but you know,
I'm just being a wise guy, Paul.
yeah, that's all right.
Anyway,
You know,
so
that-
that was the other thing. Then Paul likes to see primers one way. Nick and Ray like to see another. Mike's got a third, and I have a fourth.
And then
I still wish I had my Lee Auto Prime, the original Lee Auto Prime, but I wore the damn thing out. I'm a firm believer in seating the primer to the bottom of the pocket, unless the pocket is obscenely deep. If it's obscenely deep, it goes in the scrap pile.
okay. I use a tool to set my primers, and my priming tool is adjustable to how much I seat into the case. So, but how about I was watching a comparison of primers earlier today, and a guy was weighing primers,
Weighing live primers.
weighing live primers.
Okay, I have actually taken brass shavings from my trimming and cut a piece about a 1/16 of an inch long with a pair of nail clippers, paired piece of brass from a brass cutting from a trimmer, and put that on a scale.
Yeah.
I mean, the metal has significant mass.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're weighing primers, I'm sorry, I don't think you could really. I think you're going to find that the end result is just going to be frustrating because they don't control primers better than thousands of the primer cup wall to better than thousands of an inch.
It's not the primer cup wall. It's the amount of primer material that's gone in there. You'll find some where the anvil is sitting very high, and some
True.
where the anvil is level. So
True.
the high ones are the ones that you're trying to weed out, and you can, with the scales nowadays that they have, you're able to measure that. So,
Paul,
Yeah.
let me highlight a comment in the chat, please, from a David Campbell. It looks like he's a Facebook user.
okay,
Mr. Campbell, well, first thing is welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul, please.
yeah. He says he's a new hand loader. Is it necessary to anneal all rifle brass? I say yes. But if it's new brass, it's already annealed. It should be coming out annealed, and you should be able to go right to loading that after you size it, and then the next reloading, anneal it. Is it absolutely positively necessary? No.
It is-
Not every time, no. I agree.
Just shorten the length of your brass is all you're really doing.
Right, and there's a lot of brass that cartridges that are susceptible to neck splits, and that need the annealing.
Like you said, Paul, it all depends on what he's loading. If he's loading just 223,
No.
223 brass the way it is, don't even worry about it.
Unless you're using it like for prairie dog or something like that, where he's
Yeah.
shooting.
Yeah, if you want to see, if you have a specific, say you spend the money on super nice 223, like say Lapua. I don't think they make 223 brass, but
I'm sure they do.
Oh, they
for
do.
instance- yeah.
I
For instance,
use it.
yeah, you probably annealed Lapua 223 brass because
Yeah.
it's expensive. But if you're just using range pickup brass
For plinking.
for plinking, more than likely there's really no need to anneal it.
But he
it'll-
says he's a new hand loader, not a reloader.
Yep,
Hand
and
loader.
yep. So if it's expensive stuff, absolutely. And like I guarantee most of us all started with the socket, with the drill method, with the torch. It's the easiest way to start with for everybody, and just it's worth the shot. It's easy enough to do. So
Mhm. buy a machine. It's
Oh,
just-
absolutely.
No doubt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Bite the bullet.
for the cost of the machines nowadays, you're not spending, unless you're going with an Annealing, the amp annealer, Annealing made perfect. And a flame annealing machine you can get for $300 complete. It's something to start off with. If you want to go all out and spend the $1,500 now for a amp annealer, fine. I'm all for it, but start small. Start small. Work your way up. You can always sell, your flame annealing machine. But when I started, an annealing machine was $500 to $600.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Well, like he just came back, Paul. He's a plinker only, so he's not truly hand loading. He's a reloader, and that's
okay.
hunt shoot off road said the same. Is he new to reloading or hand loading? And so he's just plinking. So it's really not. If you're just plinking,
Yeah, if you're just planking, don't worry about it. Especially if it's 223,
308. You can probably get
308.
308 pretty cheap still. Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about it. But
Now, unless you're loading some of the odd stuff like my dad and I do, where I have to custom make the brass, I'm gonna kneel that.
Yeah.
Just
that's
because.
a whole different ball game, though.
Absolutely.
When you're starting to, you're hand loading because you're sitting there forming brass,
Mhm.
from something else.
Yeah.
So just like hunt shoot off road is taking and necking up, 30-06 to 35 Whalen, you're making brass and not, making the caliber that you need and manufacturing. You're in the manufacturing business. You have to anneal,
Oh, absolutely.
So
Like if he say he does want to get a kneeler, I know the one I would recommend, and the EP integrations 2.0, especially for the starting one, $268, free shipping.
Annealing's is 275.
Yeah, you're right in that same ballpark. Yeah, you're all
right in that same ballpark. There's a couple of them on eBay and Amazon. They're all in that same, call it $300 ballpark.
Yep.
Then you go to the Benchmade or the Bench Source, and now you're talking $600, $500 to $600. You go to Gerard, and you're at $600. Okay, so, and it isn't any different than the Annealings or and anything else that's out there. You're just paying for the name.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it looks like he's just doing 223 or 556 only at the moment. So yeah, I really wouldn't worry about it. That's just me, especially if that's all you're doing.
Yeah, but you always want new tools.
But yeah, it's if you got $300 laying around, it's a cool new tool to start with. Looking at, especially if you're looking at eventually reloading other cartridges, it's something cool to kind of play with, and it's a nice investment. They're great tools to have on the bench.
Sure.
Well, there's a question on the screen we've kind of ignored, and that would be from Running with Scissors. He wants to know what you're using well, he says y'all using to check primer pockets.
I have a gauge that I use that is a dial indicator, and it has a 3 millimeter foot on it that I put in and check my primer pockets with that.
Yeah.
And
Ballistic Tools also makes a set.
right.
I think they're less than $30, and you get the large and small. They're just a hand no-go gauge is all they are.
Right. And they're telling you if it's sized, if it's too small or too big.
Yep.
I'm sitting there looking to see what the depth of my primer pocket is. And there's a couple others that are out there that make tools that you can use that do the same thing to check what your primer, your primer's depth is. So you can set it all at the same, by cutting it and doing that, you can set it all at the same depth, and that way your primer is set. So when you seat the primer, they're all the same. and the amount that you're stressing on that primer cup and anvil is the same, because you always put a little stress onto it. You don't leave it sit and be soft. So when your firing pin hits it, it has to seat it first and then ignite the primer cup.
So would that be a softer seat? You probably get less flame, or not as hot a flame from the primer.
Not a hottest flame. You're going to get inconsistent um, uh,
Ignition, probably.
ignition.
Yeah.
And the and the variance is when the primer is hit, and the vibration that the firing pin sets up into the barrel will going to be different too. So the harmonics of the situation of the explosion is going to change.
Very good question from Miss Vanessa Kitty. She wants to know, what's the difference between reloading versus hand loading? Are they not the same thing, using the equipment you buy to do the steps? Well, for one thing, when you go to hand loading, if you're going to call yourself a hand loader, measuring powder is a good start. Reloading, if you're like reloading a bulk load of say 500 223, I would probably just charge the case with my powder measure. However, if I'm making some ammo for my Savage Model 12, I would probably weigh each charge and be very careful about seeing the overall length as best I can to meet the rifling. Whereas if you're going to just reload the same 223, I want to make sure it's short enough to fit in the box magazine. Whereas my Model 12, it's a bolt gun. It has a magazine well in it. And I keep that, I have to take and make sure it fits inside the magazine well, obviously, or else I single load them. But when I single load them, I can also hand load along up to the point where the rifling bumps against the ogive of the case, ogive of the shot. God, the bullet. God. I didn't know cases had ogive. Did you, Nick?
I didn't.
No.
My tang got all tangled.
I look at it a little differently. Reloading just means, as Jim says, you're just going to recharge the case. You're going to set your powder measure to a charge. You may weigh, every 10th or so case and go from there. But a hand loader is going to sit down, and he's going to probably turn the necks. He's going to check that the cases all have the same thickness on that neck. He's going to make sure the primer pocket is all at the same depth. He's going to go into the back of into the case and take a reamer and ream out the flash hole and make sure that the flash hole is flat. He's
don't forget deburring the inside of the flash hole too.
Oh yeah, that's you get that, we deburr it and everything, and he's going to be more precise as far as how he resizes his case. He's going to sit down and say, I can resize it a thousandth and a half to 2 thousandths and call it at that point. And he's going to make sure every case is resized that way. So he's going to anneal his brass. Every charge is going to be weighed, and it'd be weighed to the with the scales that are available now to the 200ths of a grain. Seating his bullets, he's going to be very careful as he seats his bullets. Rotate the case 2 or 3 times as he seats the bullet. That way, it's straight. use mandrel dies and bushing dies instead of a standard sizing die. Um, he may use an inline seeder to seed his bullets because that's the way to eliminate as much run out as he can get. So there's lots of interests and variations between a hand loader and a reloader.
I think John's hand loading said it best. Reloading, in a sense, is cranking out ammunition, really. Hand loading is more refined, careful making of cartridges, in theory. LOL.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yep, I concur. Thank you for the good question, Miss Katie.
You know, and on priming, we go to the situation where we measure the primer depth. We weigh the primer to see if we have anything that is off, way low, way high. We may make three three batches of whatever it is on that lot as far as we go through it when we're reloading for it. The high weight, knock that off. The low weight, knock that. Use everything that's in the middle. We can use them still, but we can use them for our sighters or our our zeroing loads or whatever.
Fouling shots.
Fouling shots. Cold bore, however you want to put it. But then we're going to sit down and we're going to precisely install the primer into the case. And there are a lot of good priming tools out there, and they're adjustable. The Frankfurt is an adjustable priming tool that lets you set the depth of it. 21st Century has one that is where you can set the actual depth of the primers going into it, the case. Holland has got one that uses an RCBS bench mounted press that sets the primer into the case precisely. And you can go all the way up to spend $600-700 on a priming tool to set the case, set the primer in the case. Who else? K&M has good one, has a good priming tool. Sinclair has a good priming tool. As it allows you to actually set the depth of the primer as it goes into the case. And the 600 ones is $600+ one is the Primal Rights priming tool. So, which has a thumb screw, a thumb wheel adjustment on the side. So as you prime the case, you can check to see where you're at as far as the depth it goes. So, but again, it's almost $700 now, and you just have to decide what you want to spend money on. You can do it the same with with a Lee tool. Okay, Lee makes a couple of priming tools, bench mounted, handheld. RCBS, the same thing. Lyman. You can even prime off the press on a lot of them. We can prime on a Lyman or a Redding T6 and put push a button, put a primer in there. Raise the handle up and put the primer in as the case is being retracted down. Progressive presses. We have Dillon and Hornady that when you come up and you push forward on it, the case is the machine is putting the primer in on the upstroke. Dillon 1100 and 1050 put the primer in on the downstroke, and that can be all adjusted and everything else. Same thing with the Mark 7s and those presses. Everything goes on downstroke. All of them can turn out good ammunition and seat the primer right, depending upon how the person is doing it and if he's setting himself up for success.
And Miss Kitty is her next comment, her most recent comment is, "Oh, I see. I use 6-inch paper plates with old-fashioned markers, marking crayons, etc., to make targets." So, in other words, Miss Kitty, you're admitting to being a plinker?
Not
I hardly think.
necessarily.
I agree. I'm not poking fun at the lady.
Because if she puts, she puts like a roughly a 1-inch dot on her paper plate and then puts that out at 200 yards, I don't think that's plinking.
That's right.
Shoots the dot out. So,
especially with her handguns.
Yep.
Right.
That 9mm she's got on her hip.
Yeah, 44 Magnum.
I respect that lady if she can do that. I respect her anyway.
Can I answer Robbie Schmidt's question real quick?
Yep.
Sure.
So I'll say this. As of right now, like Craig MZ said, there is nothing out there on the market. But when we were at SHOT, almost every company that you would talk to was coming out with something in 6 arc. So give it some time, probably fallish. I think we'll see a lot. I hope to say this, see a lot hitting the market because all these companies are coming out with stuff, which would mean companies are going to start producing more, and hopefully you get some of your other big names on it. Like I know right now, I think all it is really Hornady. Try to think of some of the companies.
Hornady.
I think that's about it. Yeah,
that's it.
If you can get somebody like Starline or some of these other big name brass manufacturers on game with this, you'll notice a big change. But for now, you gotta have to either convert or if you can find it at all, pay the money. So, but yeah, I think Ken Brown. I think you're right. I think Pedersen is coming out with some arc, but I don't remember if I saw that or not at the show.
Don't expect anything out of Lupua.
No.
Capstone has been pulling their production in.
Yeah.
They have stopped producing a lot of brass that is needed. GGW Outdoors, RCBS primer pocket swage. Yeah, definitely. For military brass, yeah, once fired. You used to be able to get unfired military brass.
Mm-hmm.
That was good.
I do love my GI brass.
Running with scissors. Differences in primers. Are some hotter than others? Yeah.
Not necessarily hotter.
Not well. I won't. Let's. they can produce up to 5,000 psi difference between the high and low.
Right. But you're the one that said it's not necessarily hotter.
Right. Yeah. It's the brilliance of the.
Yes, I agree. I agree. The breeziance. They put.
Right.
It depends on how much priming compound they put in. In the Magnum cases, they put a tad more in than they do in regular standard primer. Get more flash, more spark out of the primer with a little bit more priming compound. Paul had the right word, breeziance.
Right.
So it's not necessarily hotter, just
It. The temp. It's not a hotter temperature. In other words, that way, if we just see a different kind of flash that will take over, because the primer not everybody runs the same priming compounds. Okay. Federal is running nowadays, all their stuff is a lead-free priming compound. CCI is just turned to it. Everybody else is still using their old, with lead priming compound. So you're going to see some difference in how the primer reacts and its brilliance that it has as far as how it ignites the powder and everything else because of the differences in compounds. Very, very, as far as I'm concerned, 5,000 psi from high to low isn't much in a rifle cartridge. Okay, you're not going to see that in a handgun cartridge, but in a rifle cartridge, 5,000 psi is nothing. I mean, really, when you think about it, if you're on a, you're loading up with a one primer and you switch to the next one. Well, you're always supposed to start low, a grain or two lower because you switch things because we're safe, and then see what happens. But hey, I've done it. I mean, I know I've had CCI BR4s and then turn around and load up small rifle primers from CCI on the same run because I ran out. See any difference? Yeah, but it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell on a prairie dog town.
Go ahead, Mike. That's a good one. I know you were on top of that.
So Bama Dad wants to know, do you ever think it will be a reality to make our own primers, or even if it will be worth it? So there's a group on MeWe that talks a lot about primers, and a couple of people on there have come up with some like 3D printed racks to make their own primers, or for reloading their own primers. They've come up with the non-toxic solutions to be able to mix up to make the priming compound. Brian from 22 LR Reloader has a primer cup maker. And then he has a priming compound, Primel compound, which he can ship. It's a 4-part compound, but it is corrosive, whereas the stuff that the folks on Primer Reloading group have come up with is not. And the only reason Brian doesn't have a non-corrosive is because the chemicals involved to be able to ship wouldn't be able to be shipped because they're, I don't know if it's specifically labeled as an explosive by the ATF or whatever, but basically there'd be a lot of extra legal hoops and a lot of extra cost to ship the actual chemical compounds. So, but they're over there. They're reloading their own primers. There's quite a bit of people in the group. So, it looks like there's new chemical compounds they're coming up with. So, and the cost is actually pretty cheap. I was looking at one of the posts right here. It says it stuns. This is JB Meyer. Says it stuns me how cheap the material cost is to reload 1,000 primers. Everything is obviously getting more expensive, but it's still $2 to load 1,000 large rifle primers with EPNO. That's the common chemical compound that they've come up with. I'm projecting about $5.50 using the new compound that they're working on. So one of the newer ones. So, I mean,
550, Mike. You say is that a pack of primers or a brick of primers?
that's 1,000 primers.
Wow.
Holy.
Now,
Holy.
that's reusing your old cup and your old anvil.
Well, I understood that.
All this is just the chemical compound to recreate the priming compound. So
I understand.
there
In
is
time.
That's what in time. And I think we start with this with 3D printed. Where is that going to take us? Somebody might start making a machine that starts punching out the divot that when your firing pin hits it. I'm on the group. I don't plan on ever having to do this, but it's cool to see where it's came within. I think they've had this group for about a year now, maybe a little longer. But it's cool to see where they're been coming from and where they hopefully can go with this. So
yeah.
Making reloading primers is what we're talking about.
yeah,
Yeah.
on MeWe it's called primer reloading.
Yep. If anybody wants the link, send me an email, reloadingpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll get it out to you. So, but there is a lot of creativity going on. There's quite a few people in here who have come up with different tools to help with this. So it's a lot of scrolling back, but to try and find one of the tools, I don't know if they actually put it in. MeWe set up, it's got a group and then it's got chat. So in the primer reloading group, so that's where they've got the links to. They've got the pinned post, which actually has the link for the chemicals to make the first one that I was talking about. Then there's all sorts of different things. Different tools and stuff on here. So, but, and then there's a guy that made a 3D printed anvil flipper. So there's a fill station he made for 3D printing, and then he made an anvil flipper. So you can crank out 100 at a time relatively easily. So, but
Well, we all have the tools, the basic tool to stamp both the cup and the anvil out if we need to. If we wanted to do that, and that would be the reloading press itself.
right, you just have to get a tool to be able to.
Exactly.
You have to make the die to make it work.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Punch and die. Punch and die.
Right. And
Which Brian Nixon's got coming, so he'll have to make large and small cups.
Yep. And Miss Kitty, the answer to your last question, she wants to know what the anvils are made out of. They're made out of brass, just like the cup is.
Yep. And then he's working on 209 primer tool also, because 209s are a lot harder to do.
Yes, they're
Because of the
expensive
design.
anymore too. When you can find them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you can find them, that's the kick.
Speaking of Brian Nixon, I have, when I was talking to him at SHOT, kind of getting some ideas. I know he's designing or he has right now the 30 cal and 22 caliber gas check maker.
Mhm.
I'm going to get a poll together and throw it up on all our social medias as far as what other gas check makers we would like to see. I know I'd like to see like a 6.5. I don't know if anybody else is looking for any specific. If we get enough people looking for a certain one, he might make a run of them. So,
A 312 would be nice.
Mhm. Well, that'd be just a 30 cal, wouldn't it?
They use 30. They
I
might.
think it's just a 30
they
cal
might. You're
because
right.
being it comes down.
You're right.
So, but
And Brian Nixon's tool for making the primer cups does use an arbor press.
That was my mistake, assuming that you could use regular reloading press for that. There would be quite a bit of leverage needed.
Yep. So. But so yeah, I mean, definitely it's coming. And you know, there's more and more people getting as primers continue to not be of readily available. I mean, like Cabela's, we haven't had any primers in a month. None. I mean, we got a crap ton of powder, 1-pounders anyway, and some 4 and 8-pounders, but no primers, and not for like a month. Not even the ones we were getting for a while, which was, you know, we had a bunch of the small rifle Magnum primers for a while, but can a gas check is a cup that goes on the heel of a bullet to specifically a cast bullet to give the gases and pressure somewhere to go. Well, there you go. John explains it better. John's hand loading explained it better. A gas check is a small metal cap put on the base of a lead cast projectile to help keep the flame of the powder from melting the bullet. So
It isn't so much for melting; it's for allowing the
gas cutting.
the
Yeah.
gas
There you go.
cutting, and and also helps the bullet stay and rotate into the lands and grooves, because it's a harder piece of metal.
Right.
It engages into the rifling better.
Mm-hmm.
Craig MMZ's got a comment up I'd like to address. I'm not going to highlight it, but Craig, all I was talking about was actually taking sheet metal, strips of sheet metal, and punching out cups that way, forming it from raw sheet.
Sure.
Okay, that's what I was talking about, and I was just made the assumption that the reloading press would have enough strength to do that. Resizing, yeah, I agree with you. I'm talking about what I was talking about is actually fabricating the primer cup itself, and of course the anvil. That would
Yeah.
take considerably more pressure than just resizing a primer cup.
And the benefit to making your own, if you buy 1,000 of the Hornady copper, there you're looking at minimum probably.
$50 anymore.
Well, yeah, it's been a while. So
40,
we bought
50
about
bucks.
$40 to $50 per 1,000
On gas
With-
checks, we're talking about.
on
Yeah,
gas
that's just that
checks.
little copper cup.
Yeah, little copper cup.
Hold that up, Nick, please.
You can
Hold
also
it up a little
buy.
higher, bud. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. You can also
Notice the
buy them
different-
aluminum.
Notice the contrast in color and shape in consideration. Nick and Ray have powder coated those bullets red and blue, but you can see the copper contrast.
Other people are throwing it.
Fumble.
Yeah.
Please don't use aluminum.
I wonder if it would have anything to do with the fact that whenever you fabricate aluminum, work it, cut it, or whatever. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that aluminum oxide is immediately formed. And Paul, what is aluminum oxide?
Oh, to me, it's sandpaper. I mean,
It's material
know,
used to make grinding
Yes.
wheels.
sandpaper. I mean, flap disc. Cut whatever you use to cut steel with.
You could buy rolls of the copper flashing
Sure.
and with that punch, just make tens of thousands of.
Let's see, copper flashing.
We have to make sure it's the right thickness too. But
Let's see, 'cause he gave me. I remember the thickness.
I don't remember the thickness.
0.017.
That's why 17,000. That's pretty light metal. But remember, well, you've got to pop out the whole disc and then form the disc.
Yeah, form the disc.
But for instance, here's a 8x16 sheet, 8x60 foot, 8-inch by 60-foot sheet at my local Menards is $94 right now. But you know how many hundreds of thousands of gas checks you're going to make with that?
Yeah.
You're probably pennies, if not less than pennies.
Yeah.
So, and that's my worst case scenario. I would like to have that set up if that ever comes up for all my calibers in case gas checks come almost obsolete. You can't get them. And we've noticed within the last 3 years, gas
been
checks
tough.
have doubled.
They're sending that copper elsewhere.
Yeah. So I'm looking into that, especially for certain ones, like for instance, 7mm Mauser gas checks. You don't see them. So
Yeah, JDJ was making bullets out of copper tubing. Okay, he would cut the copper tubing and put it in a mold, and then pour the lead into it, and then let it cool and take it and put it out. So this was back in the 80s. Because of some of the bullets that he was making for some of the guns he was testing in Africa, because he couldn't get them hard enough here. So there's a lot of copper pipe that flexible copper pipe that's made that you could cut, insert into a mold, and make bullets out of. You have to heat it up in order for the lead to go through the copper pipe, but there you go. Same thing with forming gas checks and everything else that's out there, and forming up primer cups.
No, we powder coat our bullets to keep from having to lube them. If you keep your feet per second at a manageable rate, you don't necessarily have to lube the bullet that way.
we sound like gas checks.
Well, they were asking, why do you have to
Oh.
have gas checks with powder coated?
True.
No.
It just
If we just
Depending
did
on
that on a
it all depends. A lot of times, also depends on what your bore diameter is. If you have a kind of a shot out bore, that gas check's going to help grab the rifling a little better, potentially get better accuracy out of the gun. And just like John's hand loading said, some of the a lot of those old milsurps, the bores are so cruddy, you only can shoot gas or lead bullets. So you're not going to be able to shoot.
well, like you mentioned,
Jacketed bullet.
7mm.
Yeah.
Go try to find a box of 7mm jacketed bullets right now.
It's almost impossible. So that's why I bought that mold, and I'm gonna start casting for it. And now the hard part's finding gas checks, because I don't know. They made molds, and at certain times they use certain style gas checks. They did some weird stuff on their the molds. I don't remember what they were doing, but it was weird. Let's see.
Talk to, what is it? The company I bought my last mold from. They're custom made. Not NOE, the other one, the other big mold maker.
Accurate.
Accurate molds, thank you. Talk to them, because they have a CNC machine that creates the bullet cavity you want. They take orders and so on and so forth.
Never mind.
No,
That's
I
not
won't
where I'm
say-
ordering my gas checks from. Sage has them in copper too, 7mm ones. 1,000 of them for $28.
That's cheap.
That is cheap.
There you
Well,
go.
I can't swear to it that accurate molds won't be 3 months out on orders and stuff.
Well, I
like
have
that.
I have a nice steel Lyman mold
Oh, okay.
that I picked up for a good price. So that'll be a nice one. It's a nice torpedo bullet, so it'll work good for my 7mm.
way off topic.
Hey, that's how the show goes sometimes.
No, it's not off topic.
Not really.
Not for really.
It's
But Nick, what is the bore diameter of the 7mm Mauser? What's its
280.
nominal bore?
Ooh,
Point
I
two
know
eighty
bullet
four.
diameter is 284.
Okay,
I
that's
don't
what I
remember
meant.
bore. Yeah, bullet diameter is 284. So I think
Okay, I
the
said
mold
nominal.
is a 286 is what it casts to, if I remember
Oh
right.
yeah.
So I'll have to size it depending on my bore. So I have a Brazilian that's pretty cruddy, so I might not even size for that. So
Well,
and that comes up a question, being that you don't recommend using aluminum gas checks, Paul. I have a question for Brian now, because on his gas check maker, he says to use that he wants it to use for making aluminum gas checks. So I'm wondering if I could run copper through that.
Sure.
I wouldn't see why not. Yeah. He says commercial grade 0.017 or industrial grade flashing of 0.020.
I've seen check makers out of aluminum flashing. I've seen check makers out of beer cans.
Yeah.
Beer can aluminum is 4,000 thick.
That's probably why they want you to run an arbor pressure, because they get a little more pressure for that copper.
He's running on an RCBS press right here.
Is he really?
Because what you're doing, you're not actually going up in the die. So it's your, so the way his die set up, so you have it screw into your die and you're putting the flashing up through here, and then he's got this punch.
Yeah, you're pushing a punch.
Yeah, you're pushing a punch. So you're not truly, like when you're cutting the cups for like a primer, that's where you need all the force. This, you're really just doing a slight punch. So it's an ingenious idea.
There's a good question up on screen.
so M. Gabriel wants to know, does lead shrink when it cools?
Slightly. Very slightly.
Yeah. Are you going to be able to measure it with the average reloader's tools? No.
Yeah.
Now,
Like
if
every
you
metal
get,
does, yeah.
I mean, if you get a micrometer that goes to, 10,000s, 100,000s, yeah. But you're going to have to measure it as it comes out of the mold, and then measure it again once it's actually cold, and you'd be able to, you might pick up a couple 10,000s or maybe a couple 100,000s, but that's it. You're not going to know. It's not going to be enough to affect anything.
Just the difference between a cold mold and I'm not saying cold. I mean, a casting temperature mold and the lead is a different, temperature. There's going to be a variations in there without a problem. I mean, it's just what's going to happen.
I'll agree, because the thing is, too, remember, hot bullets are very difficult to handle safely.
Mm-hmm.
Nick, you've done some casting by now. I've done quite a few thousand pounds of casting, a few hundred at least. And you can't safely handle a hot bullet.
No.
You can pick it up with tongs, but then if you're using plastic calipers? I know Ray had an old set of plastic calipers.
Right.
First thing you're going to do, you put that hot bullet near those calipers, it's going to ruin them.
You're throwing those calipers away very soon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. Like my Mizutoyo calipers, they're stainless steel, but at the same time, I'm not going to put a hot bullet in the jaws of those calipers. I just ain't going to do it.
Well, even is a caliper gonna measure it, because you're sitting there trying to force something to close on it, and you're going to deform it because the lead is too soft.
Right.
Yep.
And then you switch to when it's hard, and is it going to read the right, because you're pushing on it.
Okay, Paul, the other point you and I are both ignoring is the fact that calipers only measure down to half thousandths.
Right.
Whereas we're talking about an almost infinitesimal hundreds of a thousandth
Yeah.
of an inch. You can't measure that with calipers.
No.
Or as or as mechanics like to use a certain phrase, which I'm not going to state here, but
Take the profanity out of it.
there is no way to take anything out of it. But if you've been around mechanics or carpenters, you know what
Shave
it
a
is.
whisker off. Shave a whisker off.
Um,
Hey, we're close.
Yeah. It's offensive to the. It's offensive.
you're in the ballpark.
It's offensive to the female.
Of the species.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, and Bama Dad said it's already cooled by the time you knock the sprue off. So, I mean, it's
Yeah.
already cooling. Yeah, I mean, it's
Paul's got a good point. The mold is a different temp than the bullet.
right.
Yeah.
And there's
And that's like when you look at shooting lead bullets, you go anywhere from 1,000th undersized to a couple thousandths oversized. And I don't see why you would worry about if it shrinks.
We shoot for 2,000.
We shoot for 2,000ths over, and I know most
Right.
people do that. It's
yeah, I mean, we're talking
You're-
10,000ths or hundredths of a thousand.
yeah, you're not going to notice it.
Yeah.
It's and like I was when I cast it because we cast it a couple weeks ago. I was using pure lead. Even if I would have taken that straight out of the mold with my metal calipers and measured it, I don't even think I would have gotten any movement in that bullet to notice anything. So, yeah.
Poor Sharonda. She's got to rent a U-Haul.
You're still getting a save. What's she complaining about?
Right?
She got herself a safe.
That's what I'm thinking. Anyway. All right, gang. So, let's see here. Primary Arms is having a Texas Independence Day sale.
No, it is this week, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
I forgot about that. That's always the last weekend, first week of March.
Yep. So, swing over there, check them out. Make sure you check out their new binoculars; they're pretty good. If you go to firearmsradio.net/PA, you can find out what the current deal going on. Obviously, with today being February 28th, it'll change starting tomorrow, and I don't have that information yet. So, remember to swing over and check out Patriot Patch Company, patriotpatch.co. Here is the February Seeking Love wire guided. I don't think we ever figure out exactly what launcher that is. So, but next week's topic, David Campbell will be
Measuring powder.
Yeah, throwing a charge. So
throwing charges.
Yep. So that's what we'll
Find
be
out
talking
if
about next week.
If Paul really sprinkles his powder into flower beds before he puts them into cases.
Me or
Don't answer,
Paul out?
that, Paul. Don't answer that, please. Not tonight. We're about to get off the air.
Anyway, so yeah, I would thank you to Primary Arms and Patriot Patch Company for being sponsors. Thank you for all the Patreons who support us. And anybody got any shout outs?
Bama Dad, you a bad boy.
Yeah, everybody just, think about it. Reach into the pocket, put $5 in there, $1 a month. Put it into the Patreon. Help us grow.
So
that's a good one.
But,
I mean, what's the $12 a year is 12 cups of coffee, not even.
So. Oh God. There you go, Paul. You got to do sign off. Speaking of sign offs, on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Jump on the Millsirp short bus.
Teach them shoot and reload when they're young.
Grandpa told me, says, don't listen to your mama. Violence does solve problems. And no, John's hand loading. We're not going to talk about that.
Whatever you do, don't let your jewels get dusty. No, support the Second Amendment. Do what it takes. I send the Second Amendment Foundation money every month religiously. I could find out, but oh God, Torgan, you're horrible. I could find out, but I don't really care. It's all about our Second Amendment rights. That's what
Second
puts the
Amendment
teeth in the
Foundation.
Bill of Rights.
Yeah, Second Amendment Foundation does need our financial support. They have a lot of cases in a lot of states right now, because just like Heller, we really gotta. Heller said what it said, and then they followed it up with McDonald to kind of give it a little more clarification. We've got Bruin, but we've got a lot of courts that are still going. Is that really what they meant?
So no, they know what they meant. The problem and the thing is that even in New York, where we would think it's the worst thing, the Senate put an amicus brief into their latest second circuit court, saying that New York got it wrong.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is there's a lot of politicians out there and people out there that want to that don't understand that your rights are not given by the Constitution. They're protected by the Constitution. They're God-given rights.
Yep. So
no one says you have to be a walking target, for the predators out there, and you have no way to defend yourselves. So,
Jim, I refuse to support that organization anymore.
yes.
I understand, Mike. I understand. And I still agree with that. Wayne LaPierre should be removed.
And they haven't done anything to support the Second Amendment in probably 20 years. So
they're good at they're good at getting their name out there.
Yep. So,
and the one good thing about it is that their name is out there. They all jump on it. What was that little blog kid that was out there today and yesterday saying how bad the NRA was? Why they're losing.
Yeah.
So David Bogg, excuse me.
Oh yeah, that silly kid. Anyway, yeah. So Second Amendment Foundation. That's about the only one right now. There might be some other options out there too, but that's the big one right now. So, and it's not the courts. The courts need. The problem is, it's the politicians that don't really care about Bruin, and they're going to do what they want versus until somebody actually makes them. But what happens is the courts right now are saying, well, is that really what it meant? And they're trying to, twist it. And so what unfortunately we need to have happen is another case get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court clarifies and says, no, this is actually what we meant, kids. So
that's been offered up already.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the Supreme Court turned down that little move that they made to go into it because they have to follow the appellate court.
Right. And they've been kicking everything back.
Right.
They've been kicking everything back down, but eventually we're going to get to the point where we're going to get two different circuits on opposite sides. And
the Fifth Circuit has already come out and said that this doesn't work. It's text, and tradition. And you can't use the two-step approach that everybody else has been using. So, and that's what everybody is trying to say, that you can use the two-step approach, but it's not that way.
No.
And the Supreme Court said you have to use text and tradition.
Right.
So whatever happened in 1791 when the Second Amendment was formed,
Yep.
that's what it goes by.
Right. And that's what Bruin said. But
Right.
we have problems that some of the courts aren't interpreting it properly, just like they weren't interpreting Heller and McDonald properly. So that's why we're where we're at. So, but
Well, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna
get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if you're struggling, 988-1-800-273-8255, reach out. There's lots of help out there for you. So just reach out and, if you know somebody that's struggling, get that information in their hands and let them know that it's courageous to reach out for help. It's not being chicken shit. So. And what the heck was I supposed to yell out? I'm scrolling back up. Good night, Dusty.